Joker, Folie à Deux, Folie à Deux, Folie à... Excuse me. So, you may have heard of this movie, I don't know. Joker Folie à Deux is the direct sequel to the 2019 cultural phenomenon that was Joker, which up until very recently was the most successful R-rated movie of all time. In fact, it took the combined forces of Aviator Jin's Ryan Reynolds and Mr. Huge Action himself, granting the 20-year-old wishes of comic book fans the world over, by the way, to topple it from number 1.
Maximum effort.
I feel like it's important to point out that 2019's Joker had a combined budget of 70 million, including marketing, which if you think about it in this day and age, is pretty fucking remarkable that it was able to bring in the amount of money that it did. Joker Folie à Deux had a much bigger budget, bigger stars, bigger sets, and bigger marketing. It also had the goodwill of the first film, and a couple of Academy Awards as the cherry on top, including a Best Actor award for Joaquin Phoenix. So this should have been a slam dunk, right? Right? Well... Look, before I get into the weeds here, as I said in the title, I really want to give this film as fair a review as possible. Like the first one, this is an ambitious film that is going for a very precise and particular aesthetic, and I want to really try and judge it based on what it is, and what it was trying to be, rather than what we wanted it to be. 2019's Joker was, at its core, an ode to a couple of classic Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese films, Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy. Taxi Driver tells the story of Travis Bickle, a sad, lonely, mentally unhinged New York taxi driver with delusions of grandeur, and The King of Comedy is much the same, but funny, with De Niro this time playing a sad, mentally unhinged stand-up comedian with delusions of grandeur. Both decide that the best way to get ahead and finally obtain the praise that they know they deserve is by committing very public crimes, murder and kidnapping, on public television. All of the ingredients were there. If you put Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy in a blender and threw in the director of The Hangover for good measure, out would pour Joker. If it wasn't for the fact that De Niro was actually cast in the movie and Martin Scorsese was supposed to be on board on a production level, he actually said that he considered making the film for nearly 4 years. If it wasn't for that, then I may have started to feel like the straight up lifting of these source materials was a bit on the nose and even a bit plagiaristic. But with them included, it officially elevates the film to a homage, at least in my eyes. And as a homage to Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy, the original Joker is truly fucking excellent. It absolutely nails the themes and feel of these films, Taxi Driver in particular. This can be seen in everything from the narrative to the set design, and the transference of the Travis Bickle and Rupert Pupkin personalities onto Batman's most iconic villain. Well, it was inspired. In short, the original Joker took a big swing. It was an interpretation of the character that could have fallen flat on its face, and for me at least, it absolutely landed. Joker Folie à Deux takes an equally big swing. And this time, I'm sad to say, it misses spectacularly. But I think it was Michael Scott that once said that Wayne Gretzky once said that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And with this in mind, I'm going to try and give as fair and as honest and as good faith a review of this absolutely stinking piece of cringy, awkward, out of tune horse shit that calls itself a film. Jokes. I really am going to try and be fair. Joker Folie à Deux is a direct sequel to Joker. There is a slight time jump, but I do mean direct. It makes a point in its early stages of answering all of the unanswered questions of the first film that really didn't need answering. All of those interesting questions and theories that people no doubt would have argued about for decades. Like how much of this was actually real? And did he really commit these crimes, or was this just the ramblings of an institutionalized psychopath? One last joke. Even timeline-wise, there is definite and deliberate doubt sprinkled all throughout the narrative. Alas, all that interesting discussion, dissection and dialogue, gone. I'll avoid spoilers. In fact, do you know what? Nah, fuck it. I'm going to spoil the absolute shit out of this film, and you're going to thank me for doing so. I'm doing you a massive favour by doing so. Right, so, spoilers from this point out. All of the first film happened, exactly as we witnessed it. No room for interpretation. The film actually opens with a Looney Tunes style cartoon sequence that briefly goes over the thesis of the first film, spelling it out in case anyone in the back wasn't paying attention, or in case you didn't watch a 2-hour YouTube analysis on it. I actually liked this sequence a lot, and I thought it was an audacious way to start the sequel. Right, so after the events of the first film, Arthur Fleck is incarcerated within Arkham State Hospital, not Arkham Asylum for the criminally insane, and he is seen by the guards and most of the other inmates there as a joke. Not a good joke, mind you, not a funny joke, not a jokery joke, but a sad, pathetic, weak pushover of a joke. He is constantly belittled and demeaned and laughed at by everyone around him. And much like the first film, he just kinda takes it. At one point early in the film, the guards, one of whom is played by Brendan fucking Gleeson, by the way, who is giving every scene he is in heft and weight that the script just hasn't earned. Anyway, Brendan Gleeson and his cronies send over a young, disturbed inmate to ask Arthur for a kiss. And he says that he's never been kissed before, and that the guards told him that Arthur would be his first kiss. Now, I know what you're thinking. No, they didn't gender swap Harley Quinn. They didn't go down that route, thank fuck. This is just a crazy kid. However, Arthur Fleck, the man who we understand to be the Joker, one of the most enigmatic, mysterious, and terrifying villains in fiction, meekly kisses the boy on the lips and hovels over to the guards, asking for his reward for doing so. I repeat, at this point, this is the man that we understand to be the fucking Joker. On the outside, however, the Joker has become a sort of warped cult hero akin to Charles Manson, a truly infamous human being. We are shown he is loved and adored and respected by at least some people for what he did. However, there is zero attempt to figure out why. Why has he been taken in by the fringes of society? Which of his core beliefs or actions have inspired so many to band behind him? I'm genuinely asking, because the film in no way explores this. He's just a guy that shot a TV show host that was making fun of him. And people love him for it. Anyway, Arthur continues to shuffle around, being pathetic for a while, until he passes a room with a group of patients taking part in musical therapy, using singing as a way of freeing the mind from darkness. This is when he first sees the Gaga Quinn, sharing a fleeting glance. Arthur is due to stand trial for the crimes he committed in the first film, and it is dubbed several times as the trial of the century, so it's a pretty big deal, and Arthur is a pretty big deal right now. We learn that there's even been a TV movie made and released while he was incarcerated. Anyway, Arthur is a model prisoner, apparently. So as a reward for being a model prisoner, he's taken along to the next musical therapy session for a wee song and dance. He does not partake, however. Instead, this psychotic clown serial killer is allowed to just walk out of the room so that we can get the meeting of Harley and Joker, and my god, I can't believe we still have not had an authentic live adaptation of Harley and Joker. The 2-minute monologue that Margot Robbie has in James Gunn's Suicide Squad has more to say about the kind of relationship Joker and Harley have than the entirety of this 2-hour and 20-minute movie supposedly dedicated to it.
When your taste in men is as bad as mine, They don't just go away quietly. They slash your tires and they kill your dogs and tell you that the music you like ain't real music at all, and all the cruelty. Tears you apart after a while.
Why doesn't any modern writer understand this? Are they too scared? The reason that the Joker and Harley are such a messed up, interesting couple is that Harley Quinn is just another victim of the Joker. He has complete emotional, psychological, and physical control over her. At its core, it's an incredibly sad and depressing relationship. The fact that they are wisecracking clowns laughing and finding all of this hilarious just adds to the grimness of it all. Harley has been broken by the Joker. This isn't a cute or inspiring love story. It's horrific and evil and dark as fuck. And amazingly, the only property to understand this is Batman the Animated Series, which was actually responsible for it in the first place.
That's a real gasser, huh, Mr. J?
I give the punchlines around here. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Know this, my sweet. The death of Batman must be nothing less than a masterpiece. The triumph of my sheer comic genius over his ridiculous masks and gadgets.
I know how to make some smiles, Puddin'. You're just in time to see the...
Excuse me, I'll be just a minute.
But Puddin', I don't understand. Don't you want to finally get rid of Batman?
Only if I do it, idiot.
But it's still your plan, see? Everything just like you said. Except I hung the guy upside down so he'd see their little frowns as little smiles. Now it all works.
Except you have to explain it to me. If you have to explain a joke, there is no joke.
Now I'll calm down, Puddin'.
You've forgotten what I told you a long time ago. One of the painful truths of comedy. You always take shots from folks who just don't get the joke.
But I digress. Digression over. In Joker, Folie... In Joker... I don't know why that keeps happening. In Joker, Folie Deux, this supposed Joker is a low IQ, gullible, foolish idiot who is manipulated by everyone around him, primarily Harley Quinn. I can't express to you just how truly wrong this feels when you're watching it, and if you have even a passing familiarity with these characters, then you will feel it too. I mean, you could say that they've flipped the roles so that now it's Harley wearing the shoes and that she is the one that's in control, but that ship has sailed. He is already called Joker. He has already murdered and caused riots and become infamous all throughout the city of Gotham. So really, all she manipulates him into doing is firing his lawyer. Who, his lawyer, by the way, seems like a really nice lady, a straight shooter. That's probably because she's being played by Catherine Keener. Again, an actress giving weight to an airlight script. Anyway, she convinces him to fire his lawyer and then convinces him that he can win the trial, basically that he can be acquitted of 5 murders, one of them a celebrity, on live television, that was recorded. The recorded murder of a celebrity on live television. And he believes her. He believes he can get away with it because he's an idiot. Anyway, I repeat, this is the man. At this point, we understand this man to be the Joker. With his newfound Harley-given confidence, he starts to act a bit more jokery. He's got a bit of a spring in his step. And what I mean by this is he starts to dance very badly and sing out of tune. At a moment's notice, he will sing out of tune. Let's get this out the way, right, just while we're at it. The singing in this movie, and there is a lot of singing in this movie, it's awful.
In the pack, there's always a lonely clown. The poor laughing fool falls on his back. They don't care as long as there is just a fool, as foolish as he can be.
No one sings in tune, and it quickly becomes, it's truly ear-grating. How anyone in their right mind could think that this would be bearable is actually mind-blowing. Listening to people singing badly is not fun. Even on shows like The X Factor, it's only bearable for about 20 seconds until the terrible singer is interrupted and the real fun bit starts. The ritual humiliation and tearing down of a hopeful fool.
Awful.
It's bizarre.
Okay, fair enough.
So it's a no?
No.
No.
Thank you for seeing us anyway.
Bye-bye, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
It looked like the before, during and after of Weight Watchers.
It's just the idea of living next to you lot. No, look, it was bad enough when you started, then your husband kicked in, and then Otto and his sister. I think every note was out of tune, to be honest with you.
I can't believe that this needs stating. Even Lady Gaga, who can sing, she just doesn't. There are a couple of times she tries, and yeah, I guess you could say that she sounds okay, but 95% of the time, it's like she's being directed to sing like she can't sing, which again, is just mind-blowing to me. You have one of the most famous pop stars on the planet, and you've cast her in a singing role, and she sounds bad. Deliberately so. There is no justifiable artistic reason for hiring a talented person to perform in your musical and then directing them to perform badly, then expecting people to think that the bad performance actually means that it's good, and whatever, this is breaking my brain, but you get the point. I don't know, maybe Charlie Kaufman could pull it off, but not Todd Phillips. The singing is really bad all round, and that is really a critical problem in a musical, which this film definitely is. Don't believe the propaganda. It's taking its cue from classic musicals, it's going out of its way to give off a musical aesthetic, it wants to be a musical. In fact, if you're being generous, you could say that is something it at least succeeds at, because it has the feel of a musical for a lot of it. Joker, Folie, Achoo occupies this weird, uncategorizable space where it's kind of a musical, except no one's able to sing in tune. I mean, Lady Gaga can, she just chooses not to. It's kind of a grim, loner character study like the first one, except he's never really alone, and there's no real introspection given to like his mindset. All of the fantasy musical scenes are just window dressing and filler, without any real exploration of like why they are happening. He doesn't like the situation that he's in, so he imagines different situations to be in. That is it. That is the psychological, that's the depth of the psychological analysis into Arthur Fleck's various social and personality disorders. Think Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire. A film that used exactly the same narrative device, but actually managed to do it well, and had well thought out reasons for each of the fantasy sequences existing in the manner that they did. Anyway, Arthur gets put into solitary, and somehow the Gaga Quinn is allowed in Arthur's cell with him, just to manipulate him some more and play him for a fool again. Earlier on, she fed him some story about why she was in the hospital, that she had a fucked up childhood and always felt alone and blah 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 blah. He eats this up, by the way, like a toddler would eat mushy peas. He just slurps it up and he agrees to be the Joker again, just for her. We are then treated to one of the quickest, most awkward sex scenes that I think I've ever seen. Joaquin channels his Napoleon performance just for this scene, which brings me to my next digression. Digression number 2. Mrs. Reaper does not like 2019's Joker. She does not like Joaquin Phoenix's performance in 2019's Joker. She did not like that particular interpretation of the character of Joker. She has explained to me for years how she finds that style of Joaquin's performance annoying, the sad, lonely, man-child act. I have been incredibly staunch in my defence of 2019's Joker, and while I have never outright declared it to be my favourite interpretation, I have always maintained it had to be included in the conversation. If for no other reason than Joaquin Phoenix and Todd Phillips had actually managed to do something unique and interesting and never before seen or thought of, even after what came before them. Jared Leto's failure is the perfect example. He didn't do anything unique or interesting, and he was rightly laughed at for doing what amounted to just a cheap imitation of what came before him.
Beef. You don't want no beef. You don't want no beef.
Like it or lump it, what Joaquin and Todd did was truly unique, and I think the Oscar for Best Actor was well deserved that year. Then we saw Napoleon. Joaquin is truly terrible in Napoleon, and the worst thing about it was, all that criticism that the good Lady Reaper had been levelling at Joaquin Phoenix, the man-baby, petulant, idiot energy. I got it. I understood. I saw it. And it fucking annoyed me. I hated Napoleon. I hated Joaquin Phoenix in Napoleon. Ever since then, I've been too scared to watch the first Joker film again. And now, after Joker 2, Folie, I'm pretty sure I'm never going to watch it again. I'd like to keep the memory of the before times in my head, before I saw through Joaquin's copy-paste Sadman routine. End of digression. So, he awkwardly pumps Harley, and then Harley says she's being released from the hospital, but that she's going to attend the trial and be side by side with him again. Then we see Arthur's lawyer explaining to him how Harley actually had herself committed to the hospital, that she had a relatively happy childhood, that she was a student of psychiatry, that she's now a mentally unstable arsonist. But Joker, he says, no. You lied! He then confronts Harley, who says, yeah, I lied, but who cares? Which, of course, this simp, this absolute fucking worm of a man, he just accepts it, and he declares his love for her once more. So the trial of the century begins, the first criminal trial to be televised live. And Joker immediately fires his lawyer and is allowed to represent himself. He's allowed to represent himself dressed in his full Joker garb, mind you. Now, these courtroom scenes are... Oh, by the way, Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, he is the prosecutor in the trial. So really, this is the Two-Face versus Joker trial. But anyway, the courtroom scenes are... they're just so awkward in this film. When Joker represents himself, he starts to do like this southern Mississippi burning style, like southern, like Yana, I do declare.
Mr. Puzzles, earlier this afternoon you testified that you saw me stab Mr. Kleinman-Huff in the neck a couple of times, correct?
Kleinman-Hoffer, yes. I saw you.
And what else did you see that day?
And it's so bad. It's awkward, and it's unfunny, and it's unintimidating, and it's uninteresting, and it only serves to just make him look like a bigger idiot than he has looked for the entirety of the film leading up to this moment. Anyway, my god. Anyway, after some more of the silly, unconvincing criminal trial that wouldn't look out of place on an episode of The Simpsons, by the way, it's like a courtroom scene in The Simpsons where just chaos starts happening.
And so, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest my case.
Mr. Hutt, do you know you're not wearing any pants?
What? Ah!
Anyway, the Joker makes some offhanded comment about the stupid, abusive guards at the hospital, and what follows is now the infamous scene where Arthur is beaten and dragged into the shower by Brendan Gleeson and his... I repeat, by Brendan Gleeson and his cronies. And many have interpreted this scene as a sexual assault. Now, I'm not too sure. I did not get a rapey vibe from this scene. Neither did the good Lady Reaper. What I interpreted happened to Arthur in this scene would be what we call in Glasgow a scheme booting, or a doing. A beating so severe that it makes you reassess your life and all the choices that you made that brought you to this moment. Something that people from Glasgow are very familiar with. The narrative that I've seen people use to hate on this film, that he has the Joker raped out of him, I think that's wrong. I just didn't see that at all. He got the Joker beaten out of him, which is pretty silly and stupid, but it's not that silly and stupid. Now de-Jokerfied, Arthur comes clean to the courts and tells them that there is no Joker, that he is just a sad, delusional, lonely man who used escapism to deal with his issues, and that he deserves to be locked up. This makes Harley, who is now inexplicably dressing herself in full Harley Quinn makeup, by the way, well, I say full, but is dressing herself up like Harley Quinn, like fucking main character syndrome. But she walks out of the court very butthurt at Arthur's declaration, and she disappointedly walks out of the courtroom. Then Arthur is found guilty. Then the courtroom explodes. Slow-mo pandemonium ensues. It was at this moment that I turned to the good Lady Reaper, and as a joke I said to her, how funny would it be if Harvey Dent is just laying there with half of his face missing? At which point we pan across to a shot of Harvey Dent just laying there with half of a face missing. Now, this scene, despite being incredibly dumb, was actually the most comic booky, jokery thing that happened in the whole 2 hours and 20 minutes. Joker blowing up a courtroom just as he has been convicted guilty is a pretty badass Joker move. Except Arthur had fuck all to do with it. He stumbled out onto the street relatively unharmed, just a bit of a concussion by the looks, despite being the man closest to the explosion. Everyone else in the courtroom is just totaled, just absolutely done laying on the ground, but he's fine, he's just a bit concussed, and he walks out of the courtroom and he's immediately met by a copycat Joker who helps him into a cab that's being driven by a guy in another Joker mask. Now, these two seem pretty happy with their work, and for a second, for the slightest of milliseconds, I had hope. Maybe this moment right here, the moment promised at the end of the first Joker, this is the true start of his journey to becoming the clown prince of crime. But nope, nada, no bueno, not even close. He immediately just bails out of the cab and runs away in panic. He runs away and he's running and he's chased by his proto-Joker gang members, and they're begging for him to stay. Oh no, we can help you, please stay. And he's running, and in the background we can see them all being arrested, and he's still running, and he runs. Oh, does Joaquin run. He runs all the way to the now famous Joker steps, where Bo and Lee Hold awaits the Gaga Quinn, now looking downright melancholic, a far sight from the reunion that they had imagined. He tells her that they can be together now, that he's free, that they can run away and spend their lives together, and she says no, that she never loved him, that all they had was an illusion. And oh that's right, she told him she was pregnant earlier on as well. Arthur was under the impression that his ferocious 3 pumps in a squirt in a few days cooking in the oven had spawned a wee Joker baby. But anyway, so she tells him that no, she wasn't pregnant either, that this was a lie, another illusion. And just when this man, I say man, but just when this worm, this amoeba, when this guy cannot look any lower, any sadder, any dumber, any more pathetic. He just accepts it. Harley just walks away and Joker is arrested, and just like that, we're back to square one. Nothing that we saw in the last couple hours has amounted to anything. It added up to nothing. It was pointless. It was a waste of time. Now, this isn't the ending of the movie. There is one more scene. A scene that truly puts to bed the conversation of who is the best live-action Joker between Jack, Heath, Jared, Jared or Joaquin. Right, you see, in the final scene, Arthur is approached by a young inmate. A young inmate who we have seen a couple of times. The movie has made a point of honing in on him a couple of times. You see him in the background. It's a young inmate who is always staring at Arthur and smiling manically. Can you tell what it is yet? The young inmate, he approaches Arthur and he asks him if he would like to hear a joke. Yada yada yada, I'll tell you what you get what you fucking deserve. And the young inmate proceeds to stab Arthur to death. And as we see Arthur bleeding out on the ground, the young inmate cackling manically in the background can be faintly seen using the shank to give himself a Glasgow smile, or a Chelsea grin to the uncivilised. And with that, our Joker origin story, which at no point featured the actual Joker, is complete. Arthur Fleck was never the Joker. Those theories from 5 years ago, they were all true. He was just a proto-Joker, merely an inspiration for the true Joker. So yeah, we can officially remove Joaquin Phoenix from any future greatest live-action Joker conversations, as at no point did he portray the Joker. Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, and, yes friends, even Jared Leto were adapting a comic book character and giving it their own personal flair and insight. Joaquin did not play an interpretation of this character. He played a wholly original character. So yeah, nice one. Good on you. Thanks for that. Joker Folie Achoo is a colossal failure in almost every aspect. It fails at everything it tries to do. But it did try. It took a roll of the dice, a leap. It really put itself out there and said, hit me, in an attempt to be unique and something different. And when it's all said and done, I think that's the reason that I didn't hate it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is bad. It's a really bad film. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, but trust me, it feels like a good 3 or 4 weeks have passed by the time it's done. It's an abject failure at what it tried to be. Look, there is a scene about halfway through where the inmates are watching an old musical. Maybe Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire or some shit. I don't know. I don't like musicals. But anyway, Arthur he cannot take his eyes off it. He's utterly entranced and bewitched and immersed. And the film that's what the film is. It is essentially an hour and a bit of bad character study and courtroom drama, and half him fantasizing that he's in this old school musical that he was watching. It's just a very small and weak idea for a narrative, and it's padded and buffed out with some of the worst musical numbers I think I've ever seen. So I'd like to end with a question. A question that I've been discussing with my friends and the good Lady Reaper, and as yet I haven't really had an answer for it. Has there ever been a movie, or a book, or a game, or an album, a piece of media that you loved the original? It holds a special place in your heart, but the follow-up or the sequel was so off base and so bad and it's so flying in the face of the original that you were no longer able to get the same enjoyment out of the original that you once loved. I'd really like to know. I'm really genuinely interested, because for me, I think this might be it. This is the only one I can think of I genuinely have zero motivation to go back and watch the original Joker, a movie which I loved. I'm not angry that Joker 2 Folie exists. I'm just disappointed that it does.